Breaking Bad, the acid test and the exploding crystal, busted or confirmed. Welcome, truth seekers and science enthusiasts, to another episode of MythBusters, the podcast edition, where we take the most outrageous claims, the wildest urban legends, and yes, even the most explosive moments from pop culture and put them to the ultimate scientific test. Today, we're stepping into the intense, morally ambiguous world of a television phenomenon that captivated millions: Breaking Bad. This show, renowned for its intricate plot and surprisingly detailed, yet sometimes, flexible chemistry, gave us some truly unforgettable and utterly unbelievable moments. We've meticulously researched the series' context, the characters' intentions, and the science at play to bring you the definitive audio debunking. So, grab your lab coats, or perhaps just your headphones, as we dive headfirst into two of Breaking Bad's most iconic and scientifically questionable scenarios. 1. The unstoppable acid. Dissolving a body, a bathtub, and a floor? Our first myth comes from early in the series, a moment of sheer desperation and darkly comedic horror. Imagine this: a body needs to disappear fast. Walter White, the brilliant high school chemistry teacher turned illicit chemist, instructs his young, impulsive partner, Jesse Pinkman, on the proper and very specific method: hydrofluoric acid in a specially designed plastic container. But Jesse, in his typical, well-meaning but often catastrophic way, makes a fatal error. Instead of the approved plastic, he uses an upstairs ceramic bathtub. And that's where the chaos truly begins. The scene, as many of you will recall, is horrifyingly vivid. The acid, supposedly so potent, eats right through the porcelain tub, then the wooden floorboards, sending a gruesome, bubbling cascade of, the remains crashing through the ceiling onto the floor below. A truly unforgettable, stomach-churning visual. But is it chemically accurate? Could a simple acid, even one as corrosive as hydrofluoric acid, achieve such a complete and devastating dissolution? Here at MythBusters, we decided to put it to the rigorous scientific method. Our goal, to replicate the conditions as safely as possible and observe the reality. We started with the very material central to the myth, hydrofluoric acid. And for our unfortunate subject, we used a pig carcass, a close analog to human flesh and bone in terms of its chemical composition. Our first test involved carefully applying the acid to various materials that would be present in that ill-fated bathroom: a piece of pig flesh, a section of bone, ceramic tile like a tub, a slab of steel, a chunk of wood, and even a piece of drywall. We carefully poured the clear, powerful acid on each sample, observing closely. The immediate reaction was fascinating and a little unsettling. On the pig flesh and bone, there was certainly an effect, a visible bubbling and breakdown of the tissue, but it was slow, a gradual erosion, not an instantaneous melt. On the drywall, we saw some softening and discoloration. However, on the ceramic, steel, and wood, the acid barely made a dent. It was simply not dissolving them in any significant way. The materials remained largely intact, certainly not melting away like butter on a hot griddle. This initial test told us something important. Hydrofluoric acid, while dangerous, isn't the all-powerful solvent depicted. But Breaking Bad often implied a super concentrated, almost custom-made chemical. So we decided to escalate. We prepared a truly aggressive mixture, a potent brew of sulfuric acid combined with a special, highly corrosive additive. This was a cocktail designed for maximum destructive power, far beyond what an ordinary chemistry teacher might have on hand. For our ultimate test, we brought in a full-size cast-iron bathtub, just like the one Jesse tragically chose. We placed a complete pig carcass inside, mimicking the unfortunate victim. Then, with extreme caution, we poured in our hyper-corrosive acid mixture, We used a volume roughly 3 times what was shown in the television scene to give the acid every possible chance. The instant reaction was violent. An intense bubbling, thick plumes of acrid smoke began to rise from the tub. The sounds of sizzling and hissing filled the air, a truly aggressive chemical process. We watched, waited, and after a significant amount of time, we confirmed the pig carcass was indeed dissolving, breaking down into a putrid sludge. It was visually disturbing, just as the show implied. But here's the crucial part. Despite the acid's work on the organic matter, the cast iron bathtub remained perfectly intact. There was no hole, no breach. Not a single drop of the corrosive sludge leaked onto the floor beneath. Even when we tried a different, fiberglass tub, a less robust material, the acid still failed to eat through it. The fiberglass tub, while showing some surface degradation, held its form. So the verdict is in. Could hydrofluoric acid, or even a supercharged acid concoction, dissolve a body, a ceramic or cast iron tub, and the floor below all at once? Myth busted. While these acids are incredibly dangerous and corrosive to organic matter, the dramatic, almost instantaneous structural collapse depicted in the show is pure Hollywood magic. In reality, the tub and floor would survive, leaving a very messy, very problematic situation indeed. Myth 2. The exploding crystal. Mercury fulminate's true power. Our second myth is equally iconic, a pivotal moment that truly solidified Walter White's terrifying transformation into Heisenberg. Picture this: Walter, in a tense standoff with a ruthless drug lord, Tuco Salama, needs to assert dominance. With a chilling smirk, he pulls out what appears to be a large chunk of crystal meth, but then declares it to be something far more dangerous: mercury fulminate, a highly unstable explosive. He casually tosses a small piece of this crystalline substance to the floor, and boom! A deafening explosion rocks the room, shattering windows, sending everyone flying, yet leaving Walt miraculously unscathed. This scene is pure drama, but does the science hold up? Could a small piece of mercury fulminate, even a generously sized piece, cause such a devastating blast? And would the thrower truly walk away unharmed? First, a quick chemistry lesson. Real mercury fulminate is a primary explosive, meaning it's highly sensitive to shock, friction, or heat. It's often used in detonators. However, in reality, it typically appears as a fine, grayish-white powder, not the large, glassy crystals seen in the show. That's our first artistic liberty noted. Our first test was simple. Could a piece of mercury fulminate, even a generously sized piece, simply explode by being thrown? We carefully created a sample of mercury fulminate, under strict controlled conditions, of course. Do not try this at home. Then we recreated the throw. Our expert, using a protected throwing arm, launched the piece against a hard surface. The result was a quiet clink. No explosion. Nothing. It landed inertly. This alone contradicts the dramatic on-screen detonation. So if throwing it doesn't work, what about its actual explosive power? Could even a larger quantity, when properly detonated, produce the kind of blast radius that we saw on the show? We constructed a replica of Tuco's office with complete windows and reinforced walls, and placed mannequins representing the characters. Then, our expert explosives expert prepared 50 grams of mercury fulminate, a significant amount, far more than a casual chunk. We used a professional blasting cap to ensure proper detonation, simulating the necessary trigger. The explosion was loud, a sharp, concussive crack that filled the air. The internal force was undeniable, but looking at our replica office, while there was certainly damage, the windows, though rattled, did not blow out. The walls stood firm. This 50-gram charge, while dangerous, was not enough to create the widespread devastation shown on TV. The mannequins were displaced, but the sheer force wasn't enough to replicate the visual. For our final test, we pushed the limits. We escalated the quantity to 250 grams of mercury fulminate, 5 times the previous amount and many, many times the size of the crystal depicted in the show. This was a truly substantial charge. We set it up, retreated to a safe distance, and initiated the detonation. The result was absolutely spectacular. The entire test room was obliterated. Windows shattered into a million pieces, walls buckled and tore apart, and debris rained down. It was a complete and utter destruction, far more violent than the previous test. This demonstrated the immense power of mercury fulminate when a sufficient quantity is detonated.
But here's why the myth, as portrayed, is still busted. While mercury fulminate is indeed a powerful explosive, the amount needed to cause that level of destruction, 250 grams, is vastly greater than the small piece Walter White threw. And crucially, it cannot be detonated by simply throwing it. It requires a specific initiator, like a blasting cap. The show took significant artistic liberties to create that dramatic Heisenberg moment, but in reality, it would have been a very different and likely far less convenient explosion. And there you have it, fellow Mythbusters. From the fantastical acid that eats everything to the hand-tossed explosive that blows out a room, Breaking Bad, while brilliant storytelling, definitely plays fast and loose with its chemistry. It's a testament to the power of Hollywood special effects and compelling narratives. But our scientific tests prove that reality, while still fascinating, adheres to a different set of rules. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the science behind the fiction. Remember, for every unbelievable moment on screen, there's a captivating truth waiting to be uncovered. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep listening to MythBusters, the podcast edition.